Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom, Shalom. All right, this is your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, coming with another lesson through the Spirit. All right, and Lord willing us be edifying to the Lord's elect. And before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harachahakwadash. A double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, of whom I've grown in this truth under. All right. Shalom to the Akim out there that's pushing the truth, that's laboring in the word, and that's pushing the gospel of the great kingdom that's soon to come. Shalom to the Akwath that's listening in, that's remaining true to the faith, and remaining faithful and submissive to their husbands and guiding their children. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes that scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. All right. You Israelite foreigners out there who live among the heathen and who look like those heathen nations. But your lineage goes back to the progenitors of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel through the line of your fathers. All right, I want to say peace and blessings to you all, Barakatham. Okay? So the name of this lesson is going to be They're Treading on You. All right? A play on the words of you know what I'm saying, this Gadsden flag that you see that you see in front of you, you know what I'm saying? And you know, they're treading on you. Simple as that, man. We're reaching the end of prophecy, and the fall of the Edomite kingdom is unfolding before us all, right? And the greatest irony is that it's being done right from under their noses, man. All right, from them. I'm talking about these Edomites. Okay. So the fall of this empire, the fall of their kingdom is being done right underneath their noses. You know what I'm saying? And throughout the years, I always wondered how it would happen. You know what I'm saying? How would these so-called Americans end up losing the very rights and the Constitution that their forefathers had fought and died for? You know? And, you know, we're seeing what's bringing about this change. And it's their own elites. You know what I'm saying? Their own elites needed to do nothing more than to simply use their own animosity towards Jacob in order to accomplish this. Right? I'm talking about that ancient family feud that has been pretty much the driving force behind their conquest and their ill dealings throughout the planet. You know what I'm saying? And this all has an end to everything. You know what I'm saying? Let's get this in the book of Sirach real quick. Chapter 10 and verse 8. And it reads, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Okay? And so this is talking about the dynamic between Jacob and Esau. All right? And this is how the elites have subverted their own kindred into surrendering their so-called inalienable rights, man. You know, this is how they did it. By pretty much exploiting a hatred that's been existing for thousands of years, man. Since their forefather Esau had sold his birthright to his twin brother. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 14 and verse 5. Right? It reads, let's start at verse 4, actually. Sirach chapter 14 and verse 4 says, he that gathereth by defrauding his own soul gathereth for others, that shall spend his goods riotously. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods, man. You know? But this devil has gathered, all right, and accumulated, you know what I'm saying, by defrauding his own soul. You know? And so, pretty much when you subvert or supplant your own, you know what I'm saying, you're pretty much defrauding your own people, you know what I'm saying? That's defrauding your own soul, man. You know? You're wicked towards your own. So of course, you're not going to care much about anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Truly, they have no concern for their own fellow Edomites. You know? This is the base man that we're talking about. As as the saying goes, there's no honor amongst thieves. Right? And so to accomplish this thing, you know what I'm saying, what did they do? All right? To get these Edomites to surrender their own rights. All right? To surrender their own constitution. Okay, what they did was they antagonized these Edomites with each passing administration by use of their left-right paradigm. You see? And they played on every trope. All right? Because the center of it all was you Israelites, man. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Indians. You were always at the center of this process. Right? So they played on every trope, every stereotype. All right? And they made Jacob become the face of degradation, man. And violence. They made you Israelites become the face of violence and degradation, man. How? Through their movies, through their pseudoscience, all right, and through their news outlets. And, then what they did was they provided a solution to fix this problem, which they themselves generated within the society. You see what I'm saying? All right. We know this as problem, reaction, solution. Well, also this philosophical process is known as the Hegelian dialectic. All right. The Hegelian dialectic. And according to Wikipedia, all right, the Hegelian dialectic is pretty much a measure of reasoning that involves the development of ideas through a process of a thesis, an antithesis, and a synthesis. Okay, this is a 3-step process, all right, to this whole dialectic. Again, a thesis, that's the first step, an antithesis, and then a synthesis. You see? So, where, pretty much it continues on where contradictions are resolved to form a new understanding through this 3-step process, it will form a new understanding or a new zeitgeist, if you will. You know what I'm saying? A new frame of thought. All right? And what do we go into all the time? With these different things that happen throughout throughout major events, what are they creating? They're creating a precedent. All right? They're creating a precedent. So what do I mean by that? At first it was they're going after the illegals who are criminals. All right? And then immediately after that, they go after the illegals themselves, either they be criminals or not. And then what's the next step they take? All right, they set another precedent. They're going after people who look like they come from another country, even though they're citizens. You see what I'm saying? And then what's the next precipice? What's the next precedent that they set? Now they're going after citizens themselves that look like them. They don't look like illegals. You see, one precedent after another precedent after another precedent. You see what I'm saying? So through this process of the thesis and the antithesis and ending up in the synthesis, where these contradictions are resolved in order to form this new understanding, well, this approach emphasizes the dynamic nature of of thought and reality, pretty much suggesting, all right, that the progress occurs through overcoming internal contradictions, man. You see? So like we say, problem, reaction, solution. That's the three-step process. The thesis, there's a problem. All right? The antithesis, there's a reaction. All right? Then the synthesis, there brings the solution that causes the new frame of thinking. All right? The new frame of thought. You know what I'm saying? So, let's dive into it. All right? Let's get some understanding on this Hegelian dialectic. Bear with me. All right, this article, this piece comes from Frederick's Frederick R. Smith. All right, Substack.com. Okay, so it says the Hegelian dialectic, unmasking political manipulation and elite control, exploring the influence of the power elite, Hegelian dynamics and economic tyranny in American and German politics. All right. So let's go here. All right. It says in the Annals of Western Philosophy, George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel stands as a towering figure shaping discourse from the late 18th to early 19th centuries. His pioneering concept of dialectic thinking reverberates across metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and political philosophy, illuminating the intricacies of human cognition and social evolution. At the heart of Hegel's philosophy lies the dialectical method, a lens through which he perceives reality as a tapestry woven with contradictions awaiting resolution. From this dialectical crucible emerges progressive, quote unquote, progress, as opposing forces converge towards synthesis, heralding new paradigms and insights. Hegel's magnum opus, the Phenomenology of Spirit, charts the odyssey of human consciousness through dialectical stages. At the same time, the philosophy of history propounds his vision of a world spirit that guides the arc of historical development. His profound ideas have indelibly shaped subsequent philosophical discourse, influencing luminaries like Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. All right? So let's jump down because this is a pretty big read. So let's pretty much get to the point. All right. Check this out. Exploring the influence of the power elite. Contrary to the US, Germany's political ideology before and after World War II rejected the importance of individual rights. Instead, Germany followed the Hegelian dialectical process towards what can be termed, quote unquote, rational tyranny. All right? And as we read along, I want you to notice similarities that you're starting to see play out right now. Continuing on, it says, according to Hegel, personal liberties were not valued, with the state assuming a divine-like status. Okay? According to Hegel, personal liberties were not valued, with the state assuming a divine-like status, where citizens' duty served the state as an embodiment of absolute reason. The necessity for secrecy surrounding these ideas in the United States becomes evident. All right, check this out. According to Hegel, personal liberties were not valued, with the state assuming divine-like status. Divine-like status, right? Check this out. All right. This was in December 26, 2025. It says Trump's spiritual advisor, Paula White, says to say no to President Trump would be saying no to God. A prominent televangelist and longtime spiritual advisor to Donald Trump made a striking and highly controversial declaration, saying, quote, to say no to President Trump would be saying no to God. All right. So you get the point. Let's go back. Okay, so again, we're starting to see similarities here. According to Hegel, personal liberties were not valued, with the state assuming a divine-like status, where citizens' duty served the state as an embodiment of absolute reason. The necessity for secrecy surrounding these ideas in the United States becomes evident. All right, they couldn't allow these types of ideas to become mainstream in America. Why? Because the people were supposed to be fighting against those types of ideas. Continuing on, it says the influence of the power elite, a group of intellectuals who perceive themselves as having transcended a group of intellectuals who perceive themselves as having transcended conventional religion, is a fascinating aspect of political dynamics. They exploit the concept of absolute reason to influence society across the political spectrum. This elite encompasses individuals from both capitalist and communist ideologies, okay, with historical figures like Marx and the Hitman tracing their philosophical origins to Hegel. All right, prominent members of this elite include figures such as W. Averell Harriman, who supported communism, and George H.W. Bush, who represented capitalist conservatism. Okay, this is the two dynamic. All right, you have this paradigm that we talk about, this left-right paradigm. All right, where the left goes against the right, where it's liberals versus conservatives. You see what I'm saying? One ideology versus the other ideology. Where you have the chessboard, white versus black, dark versus light. You see what I'm saying? The duality. All right. Pressure from above, pressure from below. All right. That's one of the mottos of the Freemasonry. So continuing on, it says their manipulation tactics exemplify the application of Hegelian dialectics, a hidden aspect of political power that is intriguing to explore. As a Yale alumnus and president, Bill Clinton was a key player in the Hegelian dialectical process, positioning himself in the middle of the political spectrum. He took a firm stance on the left on issues like affirmation action. In contrast, his quote-unquote adversary, the undisputed bonesman, CLA-affiliated William F. Buckley, publisher of the National Review, practiced decrying quote-unquote reverse discrimination from the right. So you have one You have one ideology on the left versus one ideology on the right. Okay? This is a tool. It says when it comes to the drug policy, a role reversal occurs. All right? A role reversal occurs, revealing the manipulation tactics of the power elite. Buckley, a member of this elite, advocated for liberal drug policies, aiming to desensitize the masses. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton projected a tough anti-drug stance as commander-in-chief. This is where you get the war on drugs. So here you have a switcheroo that happened, okay, where a Democrat became tough on drugs. A Democrat became tough on drugs, where you had you know Joe Biden. Joe Biden wrote in law. All right, he wrote a law, the three strike law. Okay, he wrote that. He wrote the what was it, the three strike law, and the it was another law that Joe Biden had wrote concerning drugs. All right, and guess what? Bill Clinton had passed that. You see? But this was a Democrat who was doing these things. And then on the flip side, you had a conservative, all right, being William Buckley, going against the conservative stance and being soft on drugs. This is how they switched it up. You see? And this is the means to confuse the masses. You see what I'm saying? This is why we tell you all the time, these are puppets. These are actors. All of them are actors. Okay? So continuing, it says, this is just one example of how influential elites steer major policy decisions. As quote-unquote managed conflict in covert circles, the Hegelian process involves deliberately sowing division among populations. It involves deliberately sowing division among populations, manipulating opposing factions, and resolving conflicts, favoring a select few puppeteers. All right, entities like the Trilateral Commission and the Council of Foreign Relations. Hegel's teachings suggest that the Machiavellian strategy maintains control and fosters the illusion of public influence. The illusion of public influence, a concerning aspect of political power dynamics. You see what I'm saying? The illusion of inclusion. It says a parliament or Congress serves as a fiat validation of democracy. All right? Hidden in plain sight as a participatory democracy. You see? This is a game that they play. This is why we tell you that your vote don't mean shit. It never has and it never will. You see what I'm saying? Your vote simply means that you are participating in a process. All right? It's nothing more than a gauge, if you will, that tells the elites whether or not you are still participating in the illusion. That's the point. All right? That's the whole point behind you going to the polls. Is to show the elites how good the conditioning is working. You see? Where it says, however, in the United States, most candidates for the federal legislature are chosen based on a similar principle of opposition, with their candidacies funded by the financial backing of the power elite. This arrangement creates the illusion of public choice. the illusion of public choice, allowing citizens to quote unquote vote for one candidate at the polls. Yet, if current trends persist, the need, this is the point, this is very important. Yet, if current trends persist, the need for public confirmation may soon become obsolete. This is what you hear Donald Trump talking about now. That we're going to have this thing so rigged that you won't even have to vote anymore. You see what I'm saying? Now he's talking about a third term. Now that the voting process is become obsolete because they know that the conditioning is there now. We went into step one, phase one, all right, which was thesis. Stage 2, antithesis. Stage 3, we are in stage 3 right now. You see? And that's synthesis. All right? So again, it says, yet if current trends persist, the need for public confirmation may soon become obsolete. Instead, the power elite could announce the chosen leaders directly. This is where you hear Yuval Noah Harari talking about the type of appointing of public figures now. You see? So it says the Hegelian method of instigating change through conflict between opposing forces follows the 3-stage process: thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. In the initial thesis stage, the proposed idea or desired change must evolve into a predicament, often referred to as a problem, to set the stage for the subsequent process stages. The emergence of a proposal through the media in the form of a legislative proposal, a white paper or example, all right, etc., will trigger an opposing force of antithesis. The second stage guarantees that both sides in a polarized public will fear the loss of statist privilege or entitlement. All right, it creates the problem. Amidst such turmoil or panic and hysteria often erupt, sometimes escalating to violence. Recent events like the George Floyd protests, characterized as mostly peaceful but fiery, and the January 6th incident serve as examples. All right? So they've gotten the public's reaction. Okay? Additionally, perennial tensions between racial groups, notably so-called black, so-called white communities, provide fertile ground for manipulation by provocateurs adept at stoking the fear and panic. The power elite emerges victorious. Rather than achieving a resolution between opposing forces, the outcome reflects a synthesis, a melding of conflicting elements. In this third stage of the Hegelian dialectical process, the power elite offers a solution to the predicament it initially created, with the populace conditioned through the antithesis stage. All right, the predetermined outcome can now be the people's quote-unquote choice. This synthesis becomes the new thesis, initiating a renewed cycle within the Hegelian framework. Within the framework of Hegelian politics, only the power elite possess the authority to enforce decisions. This Hegelian construct perpetuates the notion of the state as an omnipotent entity, with citizens compelled by a perceived religious duty to serve it. All right? You remember what Morpheus told Neo. All right? The Matrix is a system, Neo, and that system is our enemy. All right? And you look around you, you see the minds of lawyers, teachers, carpenters, all types of people, the minds that you're trying to save. But until you do, those people are still a part of that system, and that makes them your enemy. You see what I'm saying? And many of them are so inert and so hopelessly dependent upon this system that they will do what? They will fight to protect the system. All right? So, that's pretty much what this is, man. All right? It's all one big game. Right? So, as you can see, this was well crafted. It was a long crafted endeavor, man. And it wasn't done overnight. It took time. It took planning. Right? It took planning. But most importantly, it required secrecy. So with that, let's end this off with a couple precepts. You see what I'm saying? Because you have to remember that the elites, all right, the so-called elites, they know full well that this has to come to a head. You see what I'm saying? They have to know this has to come to a head. All right? They know that there's going to be pushback, that there's going to be a fight. They know that inevitably, all right, the illusion will break off. It will come apart. All right? And what's going to happen? There's going to be people that's going to take up arms. They're going to come and fight back. You know what I'm saying? They're going to do all this type of stuff, man, knowing now that the process is already in place. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that they've been treaded on. You see what I'm saying? Knowing that these Edomites have lost all these things that they've held true, that they've held fast to. So they're gonna fight back. So throughout this whole process, throughout all these years of planning, throughout all these years of being methodical in their approach to this thing, what have they been doing? They've been getting themselves prepared for this inevitable outcome, the inevitability of these people fighting back against them. And that's where you have the surveillance. That's where you have Palantir. All right, Palantir. That's where you have these drones everywhere. That's where you have all these AI systems in place. You see what I'm saying? So now they're ready. Now they're ready. All right. So we're about to see the fall of this Edomite kingdom in great fashion very soon. This is Romans chapter 1 and verse 18. It reads, "For the wrath of the Most High is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who hold the truth in unrighteousness." You see? So all of this is going to end up in a major clash, man. All right? And this is what the Bible calls Jacob's trouble. And this is where you're going to see 2nd Ezra chapter 15, chapter 16 play out. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be chaotic all around the place, man. Let's go to Psalms. All right? And you got to tip your hat to these devils, man, because they have definitely been patient. You know what I'm saying? For so many years. Let's go to Psalms chapter 64. All right, let's start at verse 2. Let's start at the top. Verse 1, it says, "Hear my voice, O power, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him, and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune on laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. But the Most High Power shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. You see what I'm saying? You Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Indians, you're at the center point of this thing, man. You're in the crosshairs. You see? And only the elect are going to be making it up out of this. All right? But those of us of the hopeful elect, man, you know what I'm saying? All right, hold fast to the faith. You know what I'm saying? Because this devil's about to go down, man. All right? He's gonna take one, a couple of us. He's gonna take a couple of us, man. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to be martyrs. All right? But understand that, when if they take a couple of us, man, just know that you're gonna be the first ones to taste of that of the new bodies. You're gonna be the first ones, who's gonna be on that chariot. So that's pretty much a one-way ticket straight to salvation, man. They grab you up, they put you in the guillotine, man. Just know that it's smooth sailing after that. It's smooth sailing after that. You're gonna have your hand on these Edomites' neck right after that, man. You know what I'm saying? So ain't nothing to fear. Ain't nothing to fear, man. All right, Job chapter 20 and verse 18. It says, that which he labored for all these years of all this planning, all right, all these moves, these different stages that they've been perfecting, all right, it's all going to come to naught, man. It says, that which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice in them. So I'm going to close that there, man. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect of the nation of Israel. This has been your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. In closing, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruchah HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who teach well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Hey, Shalom.